the test, trying to get my iPad to behave itself so I can watch on Facebook as well. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. I do actually stream live on both, so thanks for joining me. I'm going to just share that to my little group and then we can get started. Sort of a funny half sunny, half cloudy day in Hobart here today, so just hoping that the sunshine's not going to come through. I think I'm pretty safe today. Okay, so I've got that up and running, so that sounds good. The volume's good, yeah, the volume seems fine, and I'm in the right position. Excellent, good start to the video. I can see Lynette's jumped on already. Hey Lynette, it's nice to see you. Okay, so going to be making a card with the Garden Greenhouse bundle today. I love this stamp set to look at, and it really means a lot to me at the moment because anyone who knows me knows that I've got a greenhouse sitting in its boxes ready to be installed at the back. So when I saw the greenhouse stamp set, I just had to go for it. But yeah, it is. It's not an easy stamp set. It's not a conventional stamp set. It's the very few flowers and things like that. But it's really, really fun, and I'm getting to grips with it more and more every time I use it. Just before we start the card that we're actually doing today, this is one that I thought I may have demonstrated for you today. It's actually a box card. You can see there with some little brackets inside there. And if you look at it there, you can see through the glass house at the front, through to the little sort of flowers and things inside. Which I really liked it, but it was so fiddly. One day when I've got lots of time on my hands, I might pop that together on a video. But yeah, so and this is really, really flimsy, so as well. So I was a little bit worried about sort of demonstrating something like that. But that's the card that got me thinking about what I wanted to do with you today. So you're going to notice a lot of the same elements there. Folds flat like that. Yeah, so very much, as I said to one of my friends, Jan, on Messenger, very much in the beginning stage, and I don't know whether it was going to get to the final development stage. Anyway, all good. So we're going to do something maybe not quite as quite as I can't think of the word now, but not quite as adventurous with the bundle today, and maybe we'll work up to the other one in the video real soon. We're going to be doing what they call a spanner. I just discovered this recently for myself, a spanner fold card. So it's actually 3 parts to this card. You've got the front layer here, which has, as you can see in the sun there, a layer of window sheet or acetate there to give that greenhouse a bit of 3D movement. And then open that up, you've got the middle section here, which has got the little flowers and things for our greenhouse. And then you open it up again and you've got the back of the card base there. So I'm just going to bring my camera down a little bit because it's not natural for me that high. So let's just bring it down a little bit. Maybe I'll be in the right spot. There we go. Okay, so that's our spanner card. I suppose in a way it's called a spanner card because without that little cross piece there, which I've seen them without, it looks like a spanner that you'd use to tighten nuts and things in the toolbox. So anyway, it's red. So the paper I've used is from the Blue Where You're Planted collection, which is in the current catalogue, and I've used the dies and the stamp set from the greenhouse bundle. Okay, so let's get started and I'll show you what I've done. Don't worry too much about the dimensions, the measurements of things. I'll pop them into a link once the video is done, so you'll be able to see all the dimensions and the cutting instructions. So I've got some bling there. Okay, so just a quick rundown now. I will not leave you totally in the lurch. The basis for the card, the foundations of it, is a normal sized card base. I'm just going to get rid of all these. You can see so many bits and bobs. That's why I haven't said don't worry too much about it. But the basis of the card is this piece here. Normal size card base, 5.5 by 8 3/4, probably a little bit narrower than normal, and then scored at 4 1/8. So what you actually do then is 1.25 inches from each end, just cut down to your central score. So that's where you get your original spanner type setup from. So, and then you've got your middle flap here, which, as I say, we're going to separate. Usually, I've actually done easel cards where you glue those two side panels down, pop a little fold in the middle one, and that's a sort of a central fold easel card. So, yeah, it's a basis for lots of cards, but in this case, we're going to take a slightly different slant on it. So, 1.25 inches in from either end. And then what we have, we might decorate the front first. And I'm going to make sure I've got all the right size pieces because it's all of it. Oh, where's my there it is, my acetate. So I suppose the star of the show is our window sheet or our acetate. Anyone who's watched me for a bit knows that I actually don't buy my window sheets. I actually just, you can tell there's a bit of a bubble there, but it won't matter. I just use laminating sheets from on my laminator, and I just put them through blank, and they actually come out with a nice sort of thickness for a window sheet. You can buy them specifically for that purpose, but I find I just pop a couple through my laminator empty, and they come out just fine. So this piece of acetate is 4 inches by 3 inches. So it's going to sit, I can't remember how I sat it, it's going to sit there. So a little bit of overlap on either side and the bottom as well. So what we might as well do is we're going to get that bottom. So we're going to be working on these two side ones first. What I am going to do is bring in the cross piece. Now with my original card, I popped everything on last, and I wasn't overly happy with the fact that you could see where I'd put the acetate on the back. So this one, I'm going to actually hide that in between, or at least I'm hoping to hide it in between the black and the cinnamon cider. Sorry, so the base card is cinnamon cider. I probably should have mentioned that before. So what I want to do is bring in the little cross piece. So I've got an inch wide, and I think it's about 4 inches long cross piece. I might bring that there. That might be easier to see because we're just going to be concentrating on those two front pieces. So this is our little cross piece that I'm going to bring and pop on there to form our sort of like a little window that we're looking at our greenhouse through. And I'm just going to pop that on just with some glue at either end. Just a little bit of glue there, a little bit of glue there. I may regret changing the design. You guys know me that I always make a little tweak and then regret it. So hopefully this will work out and it'll be much tidier on the back. So I'm just popping that little piece of cardstock across. And then what I'm going to do is bring in our little acetate window, and I'm going to pop that on there. So you can see I've got a nice bit of a nice border that I can use some double-sided tape to tape that all around the edge there. Probably don't need to do it too much at the bottom. I might just definitely do the two sides. So just a bit of double-sided tape, and there's a bit yucky. Just bring that in. So just down. So this is 6 mil. That be 1/4 inch double-sided tape. It's hard to see on my, hard to see where the double-sided tape ends and the grid paper begins. But anyway, that's there. I'm just going to take those off. And the sun's back. Isn't that typical? I moved along so that I wouldn't get those little sunny blobs. Definitely might have to change the timing of my videos. So as I say, I'm just going to pop that acetate. I'm going to line it up with the top of the card and just make sure that that whole window is covered. Yeah. So that's going to look a lot neater on the back. You can see that there. It's going to look a lot neater. Cool. So let's bring that back. So there's our acetate. So now I'm going to layer it up with our Designer Series paper and our black layer. So I've got, so we know that these side bits are 1 1/4 wide because that's how we've cut them. So I've got a black panel there that is 1 1/4, so 1 1/8 wide, and what would it be? 4 inches long. As I said, don't worry too much about the measurements, I'll come back to them. And then our Designer Series paper, which is our lovely bloom where you're planted little brick wall, is would be 1 inch wide and just a tiny bit shorter. So we've got that there as well. Okay, so we might layer up with those. So this is the bit where it could all go to pieces because I'm actually going over that acetate, but we'll see how we go. As I said, if you don't want to, the original design was basically just to pop that acetate over the back of the hole. I didn't like it being a little bit messy when the card was open. So there's our black layer. Do our other one. Oh, sorry, I'm not looking at my comments. Apologies for that. I'll come back to them in a while. I need to concentrate this wee bit because I've actually just changed the design. If it all goes terribly wrong, we have to all pretend that it didn't happen. Okay, so there's there. That's our 2 side bits, hopefully they won't move too much. Yeah, so let's bring in our little brick wall. So I've got the bricks lined up on the 2 sides so that it looks like, you know, it's the right orientation for an up and down brick wall. And start, and then for the middle one, the one that's the cross piece, I've got them sort of running horizontally so it still looks like it's the right way up. A little bit skewed. Okay, so let's bring in the middle one. So this one is just, that was 1 inch, so this one is, oh, that's too short. It's well and truly too short. I'm going to have to cut another one of those. That should be a lot more longer than that. Oh, as should that. So hang on, I've got to cut myself a little bit more black because that's definitely too short. Yes, plans sometimes. I've got a little bit of a, yeah, okay, cool. So I'm going to have to cut that down. So how wide line does that have to be? That was a bit of a boo-boo this morning. So it needs to be, so the whole length of that is 3 3/8. So that needs to be 3 1/4 long. Here's my trimmer. Crash. So just forgive me for that. 3 1/4 long. I don't know what I actually covered at, but it wasn't 3 1/4. And what did I say? 1 inch wide, so 7/8 inch. And that should fit better. So I'm going to have to cut another piece of Designer Series paper as well. Yep, that's better. That fits better. So another piece of the really cute little brick wall. And as I say, that's going to run sideways, so that has to be, so what was that, 3 1/4. I know it needs to be 3/4 thick. And it has to be 3 1/4, 3 1/8, 3. Is that right? 3 long. So what's this one? That's 3. No, it has to be 3 1/8 long. Must be 3 1/4. Apologies, thinking to myself there. I would not have been happy if that had been too short like that. So there we are. That fits better, doesn't it? Yes. And that looks better in that little gap. There you go. That's a better size. So when I write those measurements down, I'll know to make a slight adjustment. There we are. Thank heaven I've got scraps of things all over the place that I can easily pivot. Okay, so we've got this one here. It's going to be the same sort of gap, left, right, and top and bottom. And then this one. We have our little brick wall window that we're going to look through to see our greenhouse. There we are. Okay. Okay, so that's that piece done. So what we're going to do now is bring in our, might just bring in our greenhouse itself, and then I can give it a chance to dry before I come, before I get back to putting the second layer in. So it's just the little black, I've done this in black, basic black cardstock, and it's just the little greenhouse from the die set. Now, I am using a bit of a different glue for this one, and that is because the die is just so so fine. I find even with our fine glue, the fine Stampin' Up one, it's just too fine for it. So I've just got this little one that I picked up at a craft store, and it has a little brush on the end, and it just makes it so much easier for getting those little fine details with some glue. Yeah, not Stampin' Up, so I won't mention the brand, but it is at, I'm sure it is at a craft store near you. And as soon as Stampin' Up bring one with a little brush, I will go for it, no worries at all, but at the moment we don't have one, so I don't feel too bad using this. Just a little bit with the brush. I suppose if you popped it would ruin the brush, I think. If you popped a brush into our normal glue, that might work, but I think it's so lovely and thick, I don't know that it would. Okay, so I'm just going to pop a white, nice fresh white, pop that greenhouse just on that acetate window, probably as central as I can get it, and hopefully as straight as I can get it. Just stamp that down, and that glue should stick pretty well. Hopefully not to me. And I might set that aside just to dry a wee bit before we come back to it. Okay, so there is our window with our little glass house on it. Isn't that cute? Okay, so we're going to bring our next layer in. So our next layer is this one underneath, is this little flap here. So let's get that going. And the light's making its way up. I wonder what would happen if I close those. Oh, no, I think it's coming through the edges where the strings of the blinds are. I don't think there's much I can do about it. Once I move my whole setup to the left, we should be away from the light, which would be good. Okay, so for this little panel here, I have another layer of basic black, and I just have to make sure I get the right size one, which is that one. And another layer of, we have our layer of a matte of basic white. So that one fits just, let me use that side. That one fits just on there. So that's an 1/8 of an inch smaller than the black. And that's going to sit on there. So this is the one that we're going to do some stamping on. So let's leave that out. We'll get our stamp set out. So the stamp set has this really cute little sort of, what do we call it, bushy, flowery, leafy area. And I'm just going to stamp that onto here. And I know that I don't want it, if you put this onto here and because we've got our little panel there, I don't want to start stamping all the way at the bottom. I want to start, I think it's a 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom, just to take into account that we've got our little cross piece here. So what I've got is I cut myself a little piece of designer series paper that is 3/4 of an inch long, and I'm going to pop that at the bottom just so I know I'm going to actually glue it there. I actually quite like it there, but I'm going to glue it on there just so that I know where to start my stamping. Let's just do it like that. So now I'm going to bring in our little bushy, flowery, leafy stamp and pop it on a block. I've got it blocked up already. Forgive me if we have crushes as I get the blocks out. So I'm going to stamp this one in garden green. And it will go slightly off the edges, so as I say every time, make sure you're not standing somewhere that you don't mind getting a wee bit inky. I'm just going to line that up sort of roughly with the paper at the bottom and stamp that one there. There we go. Okay, so there we are. That's our little garden green scene. Now there is another little stamp here, which is just a plain little flower, and it actually fits. You can see there's a white area that they haven't actually popped any. They've left it blank, just for this particular little flower to go in. You can pop him all around. So I've got Calypso Coral here, and pop some Calypso Coral, and I'm going to pop that little flower there. It just stands out so well. And then there's some little stems that obviously end at the end of nowhere, so they're ready for a little flower as well. I'm just going to fill those in around the place where I think a little flower would be good. There we go. There we go. So we've got some little Calypso Coral flowers. Just to give it a wee bit more oomph, I suppose, or just a bit more detail, I'm going to grab this little leafy arrangement here from the stamp set as well. I'm going to grab my Just Jade ink. I'm just going to fill in just a little bit where I think it's a little bit empty. Just fill in some gaps. Don't want to cover over my little flowers too much. There we are. So it looks a bit messy, but it looks really nice through the gives the greenhouse a little bit of detail in the background there. Okay, so that's our greenhouse flowers. I'll bring back our card and our little black layer, and we can layer these up. First of all, the black layer. Like that. And our garden, our flowers. As you can see, you see them through the greenhouse like that, which is really cool. Okay, so what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Just sort of flick through the card as I go. So we can do the back of the card now, and then we can sort of put our bling on. So for the very back of the card, I have a layer of basic black, which is an 1/8 of an inch smaller than our card base. And this piece of basic white, which is going to sit just in the middle there. But before I do that, I've got 2 panels of another design from the Bloom Where You're Planted designer series paper. Just some lovely green leaves there. I'm going to pop that on either side. So as you can see, that corresponds pretty closely with the paper at the front. Sort of carries that designer series paper theme through. Okay. And on our centre panel, just a basic white. Sits in there like that. Yeah. So on this one, I was going to do some stamping as well. So I'm going to bring back my garden green. Now in the stamp set, there's this cute little tuft of grass here. Just really cute, just tiny, just for a little background, and, sort of a background piece. Pop them on that front, that middle panel. That's the garden green. And fun bit about this particular stamp is it has a little, a sort of a second part to it, or a second stamp, which I'm going to use to bring back my Just Jade. There's a second one, this one, and it sort of fits. This gives you a chance to add a second colour to that little tuft of grass. So those little images there sort of fit in. You can, if you wiggle it, well, do it properly, you can find where they fit in. That's it there. So you can say they fit in just with the original stamp. So you can get that sort of little hint of a second of a different colour just in there like that. Probably should have used two colours that were slightly different, more different than that. And then I'm going to bring in one of the little flowers, not the one that we used before. Just a little flower here. Bring back my Calypso Coral. Pop a little couple of flowers in there. Yeah. Oh, and a sentiment. I thought I'd bring a sentiment into that as well. Just for the back. There's one here that says, "Each day is a new beginning," which is so true, so true. Each day is a new beginning. Bring back my garden green. Mine just moved. Bring back my garden green. Positioning myself between the two sun rays. And I'm going to pop that. There we are. So that's the very back layer of our little card. So we've got that layer there, which is the sort of the trees, the plants for the greenhouse, and then we have the greenhouse itself. So we've got to put our sentiment on there on the very front. I have here a strip of basic white, which is 1/2 inch long, and I don't know how, well, 1/2 inch wide. I'm not quite sure how long because I just used a scrap. But I'm going to use the nice long, I hope your day is just right sentiment from the stamp set. And then again with my garden green, and pop that. Yeah. I'm going to grab my banner punch, one of my favourite punches, and I'm going to just banner the ends. More. Okay, so you could probably, and I'm just looking at what I did with my front one, you could probably put that on some dimensionals. I'm just going to glue it. So I think there's enough 3D action happening with this little card. Just on the front there. And then the last bit is a bit of bling. Even a glass house needs a bit of bling. Okay, oh, and there's a little few flowers to pop on it as well. So the bling I had are the iridescent gems and the brush brass butterflies. So try saying that quickly, multiple times. And I've got, if I can find my little envelope, I've got some just little die cuts from the some extra little die cuts from the die set as well, just some little leaves and some extra little flowers. So I'm going to pop those on the front as well. Okay, so let's do those. So what I might do is I'll grab this little 3 leaves here, pop some glue on the back, pop in. So slightly on the side piece, but slightly on the greenhouse as well. And I've got another one there in that one is in Just Jade. This one is in Garden Green. And I'm going to pop him on as well. Slightly further down. Okay, so it looks like a bit of a vine happening. And I've got 2 little flowers. So these are from Calypso Coral. 2 little flowers from the die set as well. Just pop some glue on those. Pop them on there too. And the last thing is another little leaves. Okay, we've got a little sort of 5-leaf arrangement here. Some round leaves. I'm going to pop those on the side there. And that on the left-hand side. Just for a bit of, bit of detail on the front. And that's where my iridescent gems are going to come in. Just take my pick tool, a couple of the little gems, little iridescent gems in the centre. Of our 2 little flowers. And some butterflies. So here we have our brushed butterflies, and I'm going to pop those around the glass house, just on the acetate at the front. I was thinking about popping them inside, but I don't know. They're flat, so they should be okay, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'll pop them on the acetate, might be safer. Okay, so there we are. We have our little greenhouse spanner fold card. Opens up there. We've got our greenhouse at the front. We've got our little flowers on the inside, the next one down, and then we have a sentiment on the inside as well. So there we go. So hopefully you enjoyed that one. It wasn't too hard. As I say, I'll put all the measurements and things on in the comments with a little link to my shop, so you can pop them into your stash if you like what you've seen today. Anyway, so thanks very much for sticking with me. I did see one of the sentiments about being an echo. Don't know what's going on with my sound at the moment. I've got exactly the same setup that I've always had in my other room. It could be that this is a larger room. Who knows? It's just sometimes it's a matter of tweaking when you actually move. Although Sue did say that fairly early on, so maybe that settled down. Anyway, leave me a message if you find anything that you'd like me to improve. As I say, I may well have to move back into my other room if I can't sort of work out how to make this room work better. We'll see how we go. I'd hate to do it because it's twice the size and it's really nice for working in here. But anyway, as I say, like any of those products that you've seen today, please let me know, and I will catch you all again in the next few days. So, okay, bye.